All right, everyone. So I want to give you guys some of my thoughts on something that I was thinking about during the stream. And so here I am doing a video on Israel and really how the whole situation with Israel is gradually becoming really just a big fat black pill, especially in comparison to the state and the status that Israel had going all the way back to the early 2000s, the 1990s, 80s, 70s, 60s, and 50s. In those decades, Israel had a really good status, and it was looked at with a very bright, positive light. Why was that? Why was that the case? Well, the reason is because of the very strong pro-Israel sentiment amongst America's Christians, because Israel is really being backed by the United States for the most part, and Israel's biggest friend is the United States. And a great reason, really one of the biggest reasons for this, if not the biggest reason for this, is the very strong pro-Israel sentiment that American Christians have had for decades, really. And, well, this support is declining, which means that Israel is losing the support of white Christian Americans. And if Israel loses that support, that means there would be eventually some sort of a policy shift when it comes to Israel, and that's not going to be good for the Jewish state. So really, what is the biggest fear of Israel? The biggest fear of Israel really is not Muslims, at least not for now. The biggest fear that Israel has is losing the support of white Westerners. Because if you look at the two biggest allies of Israel, they are what? The European Union and the United States. And these two major blocks of power are majority white powers. Their populations, their demographics are majority white. And so if the white people in both of these very large geopolitical blocks of power begin to really turn against Israel, that would mean Israel losing its two biggest allies and its two most important allies, especially the United States. The thing is that if the support for Israel in America declines tremendously amongst America's white demographic, that would translate into literal policy shifts in regards to Israel, and it wouldn't be good. This could mean, really, this could look like America turning its back on Israel, and if America turns its back on Israel, it's not going to look good for the Jewish state. Now, Israel enjoyed tremendous amounts of support in the decades following the end of World War II, and this support really exploded after the 6 Days War in the 1960s, because you had all of these Arab countries that declared war on Israel or went to war against Israel, and then Israel defeated all of them. And so it really looked biblical. And this biblical image really bolstered this position of Israel fulfilling biblical prophecy. And so all of these American Christians were thinking, wow, look, the Bible was fulfilled, prophecy was fulfilled right before our eyes. We really have to support Israel, because if we have Israel's back, that means we have God's blessing. And then they would go to that verse in the book of Genesis where God tells Abraham, I will bless those who bless you, I will curse those who curse you. And so American Christians for decades have upheld this sentiment that as long as they're blessing Israel, they are good with God. Their souls are good with God. The thing is, this sentiment is declining in American society, and really support for Israel is gradually going down tremendously. And you see this in the political happenings in Western countries. So, for example, in Germany, you have the rise of the AfD. And who is running the AfD? Well, one of the AfD's biggest leaders is a guy by the name of Bjorn Höcke. And Bjorn Höcke is not very friendly towards the Jews. He himself has said that he's sick and tired of seeing Holocaust memorials. He's tired of seeing them, and he wants a complete shift against the politics of remembrance, which means the politics of remembering the Holocaust. He's sick and tired of it. He doesn't want to see it anymore. So how has the German right reacted to this? The German right doesn't give a damn. In fact, more and more Germans continue to vote for the AfD. And now that there was just this terrorist attack in Germany in which some Muslim guy or some Middle Eastern guy crashed into a whole Christmas market and killed people and injured a whole bunch of people, AfD now is going to have more and more propaganda fodder to bolster its own position and potentially get a lot more votes. And also, if you remember, there was this violence that broke out in the city of Amsterdam, in which you had Muslim taxi cab drivers and other Muslims fighting and beating up Israeli soccer fans, and these were Israelis who are fans of the Israeli soccer club Maccabi Tel Aviv, or Tel Aviv Maccabi, I don't remember. But anyway, it's an Israeli soccer club. And all these Israelis went over to Amsterdam and they saw this building that had this Palestinian flag, and they thought, well, the West loves us and the West needs us. And that's another thing that the Israelis think. They think that the West really, really needs them, and the West is super dependent on them, so they can do whatever they want. And so a lot of them have this air of arrogance to them. And so here they are in this European city. They're in Amsterdam, and they see this Palestinian flag, and a lot of Dutch people are pro-Palestine. And so they went up there and they tore the flag down. Now, when you go to another country, you don't just go around ripping flags down. It doesn't matter how much the flag disagrees with your political sentiments. You just don't go around ripping flags down. But these Israeli soccer fans did that, and then some taxi cab driver drove near them, and I'm not guessing, I know that this taxi cab driver was some sort of a Near Eastern or Middle Eastern guy, and he said, "You guys are a bunch of gangsters." He called these Israeli soccer fans gangsters. And these Israeli soccer fans, what did they do? They turned around and they physically attacked this guy's car. They tried to attack him, I believe. According to the guy's lawyer, they tried to enter the taxi cab, but they actually attacked his car, and they were throwing stuff and they were hitting the windshield, that sort of thing. It was pretty bad. And so this taxi cab driver got pissed off. He drove off, and then all of a sudden the news spread out to all the other taxi cab drivers in Amsterdam. And a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of taxi cab drivers in Amsterdam are of some sort of Middle Eastern origin, or they're North African or Turkish. And so all these cab drivers got the message that these Israeli soccer fans were in the city and they were being aggressive and they were anti-Palestine and all that stuff. So, boom, these taxi cab drivers did an ambush. They got their friends, and there were all these ambushes that were being done on these Israeli soccer fans. And there were cases in which people approached these Israelis and started to interrogate them under the threat of violence, under threat of violent force. And they were saying, "Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Are you a Jew? Are you a Jew?" And of course, this harkens back to all of the anti-Jewish pogroms that have taken place in European history. And so seeing this sort of thing and seeing the footage of it was quite shocking. And you would think that the world would look at this and say, "Oh my God, this is anti-Semitic, this is violent, this is terrible, this is reminiscent of all of the anti-Jewish violence that took place back in Europe, blah, blah, blah." No. I remember going on to Twitter. And looking at what people were saying, and I couldn't believe it. So many people were completely not only unsympathetic towards the Israelis, but were actually cheering on those who were physically attacking the Israeli soccer fans. And you see this total shift taking place. And that's why I say the whole situation with Israel really is just one big black pill. And this pill is... It's just getting darker. And so you see this party, for example, in Germany rising up, the AfD party, and you think, okay, AfD, they're nationalists, and you do have Israelis who support the AfD. You have Jewish people who support the AfD. In fact, there is a Jewish branch of the AfD, but I think that this is either some sort of a deception or it is a sign of some sort of an internal struggle within the party in which you have people who are actual Nazis, in contention with those who are not Nazis, but they're some kind of nationalists and they want to include Jews, or really all of the above is possibly happening. And so in this party called the AfD, you have this guy named Bjorn Holke, and he himself has made it very clear that he is an ultra-nationalist. He's sick and tired of seeing Holocaust memorials. So you would think, okay, this German nationalist party that has a Jewish branch, they're going to be very sympathetic to remembering the Holocaust. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. The biggest leader in the AFD, the most famous leader of the AFD, Bjorn Höcke, has literally said, I'm sick and tired of seeing this damn Holocaust memorial in Berlin. I'm tired of seeing these things. I'm so sick of it. It's only weakening Germany. And this is completely antithetical to the Israeli narrative, which is we have to remember the Holocaust because as soon as we forget the Holocaust, then it could actually repeat. And so you see this massive shift happening against the Jews, against Israel, against the Jewish people. And it's very, very scary because we have seen where that road leads people. We've seen what that road leads people to, and it is a road that is paved towards destruction. But you just see this massive difference between now and, let's say, America or the Western world back in the 1990s. Now, if the violence that happened in Amsterdam took place in 2003 or 2006, or really in any year of the early 2000s or in any year of the 1990s or 1980s, the Western world collectively would have been in total shock. The Western world would have been outraged. People would have been saying, oh my God, what is this? This is like the pogroms of old Europe. We're going back to Nazism. People would have been freaking out. But when that violence took place in Amsterdam and you had people walking around saying, are you a Jew? Are you a Jew? Are you a Jew? And they were attacking people. When you see that sort of thing, and then you see the response towards that violence, and you see how so many people online have been openly, explicitly supportive of the ones who were attacking the Jews, it's pretty clear that the whole status of Israel is crumbling. And you could say, well, this is a Middle Eastern thing. You could say, well, these were Middle Eastern people, and Middle Eastern people are against Israel and all this stuff. True, but look at the people making the comments on X who are supportive of the people who attack the Jews. They're not all Middle Eastern. There's a whole bunch of white people who supported what happened. And you see, even amongst white Americans, the support for Israel declining tremendously. You can look at all the different studies that have happened. Look at all the different polls that have happened. You will see support for Israel in America declining tremendously. Support for Israel in Europe has also been heavily in decline, worse than the United States, I think. And you just see it. It's just getting worse and worse. And I'm afraid Israel is just going to have to swallow one big fat black pill. And it's pretty depressing. And you see the rise of Turkey. And Turkey right now is making Syria into a Turkish protectorate. We are literally seeing the revival of Turkish power. And who's right next door to Syria? It's Israel. And so Israel was celebrating the downfall of Bashar al-Assad, but guess who's now right next to you? A power that not only orchestrated a genocide of people, a genocide of over 1 million people, Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks, but to this day denies that genocide even happened. So right next door to Israel is a country that is literally a Holocaust-denying country. And it's right there. So it's just one big fat black pill. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.